Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today on Donnie and Dolly, presented by our title sponsor, Able Auctions, ableauctions.ca. And we can't thank them enough. Before we get to Jeff Paterson, some disturbing news from the National Hockey League. Chris Letang of the Pittsburgh Penguins, veteran defenseman, out indefinitely after suffering a stroke on Monday. He's 35 years old, is not experiencing any lasting effects of the stroke, and will continue to undergo, as you would imagine, a series of tests. There will not be any further updates to his condition until all testing is completed and a medical plan is in place. And I'm not trying to downplay this by any means, folks. In 2014, Chris missed over 2 months due to a stroke. During that time period, testing revealed that he was born with a very small hole in the wall of his heart. And although the small defect in the wall is apparent in all individuals, it typically closes on its own in most people. That isn't the case with Chris. So again, Chris Letang suffering a stroke. He is out indefinitely, as you can imagine. All the best to Chris Letang. Tough turn. We'll take it from Sakaris and Price and the Rink Wide podcast. We're joined by Jeff Paterson. Jeff, thanks for doing this. How are you?
Well, I'm all right. I wasn't sure where you were going when you said disturbing news, and then I thought you were going to bring me into the program, and I was like, what kind of intro is that? Donnie, I need you to slow your roll on Ovechkin just a touch here.
Oh,
and I'll tell you why. He's done with the Canucks for this season. 4 of his 13 goals against Vancouver, 6 of his 25 points. So, I think he's going to get 9 goals the rest of the way until he sees the Canucks next year. No, look, I hesitated last night and wondered about even going to the game, and I've got a press pass. I can only imagine what people that paid money with the snow and the conditions. But I thought, you know what? We're not going to get a chance to see this guy that much more in Vancouver. He's only played here 12 times in his NHL career, and I'm glad I went because he put on a show, and Ricky documented the 5 shots and the 12 attempts and, the 2 first period goals and the crossbar and then the looking for the empty netter. And what I still love about Alex Ovechkin, and you touched on it too, Rick, was his love of scoring goals. And we saw it with Pavel during his time here too. This is what they do. They're better than just about anybody. And in Ovechkin's case, you can make a strong argument that he is the greatest pure goal scorer of all time. And the celebration after the 2 first period goals last night, pretty close to what I imagine his first couple of goals in the National Hockey League. He knows that every goal is one closer to taking his rightful spot alone as the greatest goal scorer in NHL history. He'll get there. I wasn't sure. I wasn't convinced of that. But when you lay it out the way you did, Donnie, he's on pace for 40-plus goals. If he could, 5 20-goal seasons gets him there, but a 20-goal season is laughable when you're talking about Alex Ovechkin because all he does is puts puck in the net. And it was great to see him do it last night. And it's a fun. It's a fun night when the Stars come to town and then the Stars put on a show, and that's what he did last night.
37 years old. So 5-1, the Capitals beat the Canucks. Bruce Boudreau said something to the effect of 2 desperate teams. They were more desperate than us, and they outworked us. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. He used the word bullied. He said they bullied us. They don't have Tom Wilson in their lineup, and they came to town and they bullied the Canucks. So a little bit of a concern there. And I think a lot of it is they're a big team. They've got size, and Ovechkin's part of that, obviously. Their forecheck, the Canucks just couldn't handle it. And I suppose the one area that I can give the Canucks a bit of a pass. You can't give them a pass on the performance, but when Quinn Hughes, the most sure-handed guy that they've got on this team, when he turns the puck over, when Elias Paterson tries the reverse hit behind the net and it doesn't work and he gets steamrolled, and Bruce said as much, it's not your night when those guys are making those kinds of mistakes. I had to go back and look. Elias Paterson, as you pointed out, on the ice for all 5 of the Washington goals. The last Canuck to be -5 in a game, Eric Goodbranson. Before that, Derek Pouliot and Lucas Spiza. So there's an eclectic group that Elias Pettersson is a part of. Also, 268 NHL games for Elias Pettersson. He'd never been worse than -3. So I have to think that last night was the outlier. But life moves fast in the NHL. And for Quinn Hughes, it's amazing that you couldn't just feel the presence of Ovi right behind him. But, bad turnover, and Ovi doesn't miss in tight like that. So you make mistakes at the NHL level. I don't care if you're Quinn Hughes or Liz Paterson. When you're playing a team that has the firepower of the Washington Capitals, they make you pay, and they did that last night.
Jeff, Martin got the call in net yesterday. Now, obviously, hindsight 50-50. Some are saying maybe Demko should have got it last night. What are your thoughts on the goaltending situation with the Canucks?
I thought it would be Thatcher Demko just because I'm a believer that they've got to get him up and running, and I thought he was pretty good in San Jose the other night. He's won 2 of his last 3 starts, and how do you know if a guy is back until you give him a little bit of a leash here and some runway? And so I thought that it would have been Demko, but look, Spencer Martin has built enough of a resume and enough equity with the coaching staff that when they turn to him, they believe in this guy. And the crazy part was Ovechkin opened the scoring at the 5:35 mark. It could have been 3-0 by that point.
That's right.
Without him putting a puck in the net. It is incredible how quickly the Vancouver Canucks lose their shape defensively. And I know shape is the soccer term, but it's World Cup time. Mm-hmm. But, Jim Rutherford's harped about structure. I can only imagine what Jim was thinking as he looked on from his perch last night, because those first 5 minutes were inexcusable. And Spencer Martin made a couple of big saves there. It could have been 5 or 6-1 after one period. It was only 3-1. So I didn't have a problem with them starting Spencer Martin. He has delivered results for the most part, just his second regulation loss as a member of the Vancouver Canucks. I still thought it was going to be Demko, but that wasn't on goaltending last night. That was very much a return to early season form where nobody wanted to make a play. Nobody wanted to, dig in defensively and take a man and leave guys standing around in front of the net. And then, as we said, costly turnovers from unlikely suspects, and it all just added up to a bad night at the office for the Vancouver Canucks.
One thing the Canucks are getting right now is healthy. They only have 2 injured guys, Pearson and Pullman. Pullman, I'm hearing, is still, it's all over the map. It's tough to diagnose what he's got. Pearson's getting closer. Okay, so when everybody gets healthy, there's guys getting bumped down. And yesterday, Podkolzin and Rathbone played in Abbotsford. Are you okay with the kids finally getting to play? All they do ever in Vancouver is sit in the press box, Jeff.
Right. So on that level, yeah, I'm fine. I mean, they're hockey players. I want them to play. I am a little concerned about the development of Vasily Podkolzin. I'm not writing him off, but he just looked so good in those final 20 games last year where there were some injuries, and he elevated his game and his role in the lineup. And I was hoping that he was going to pick up where he left off. And obviously that's not the case. Just the 3 assists, no goals, I think 18 shots in the 16 games that he's played. So I hope he goes down to Abbotsford and embraces that. Like, I hope he doesn't look at it as punishment. It's not sending him to Utica. It's just down a snowy highway and, getting some games. The 2 teams are both at home now, so geographically it works. And I think this is what the big league team has to do, take advantage of your farm team down the highway. So I'm okay with all of that. But you're right, Rick. Jack Studnicka took the morning skate yesterday, so he's getting close. And Tanner Pearson, I think, is still a couple of weeks away. But where does Tanner Pearson fit in all of this? So Tanner Pearson has 1 goal on the season. He's taken 7 penalties. Feels like the other team scored on every occasion that he's gone to the penalty box. So he has not helped this hockey club. I firmly believe that they tried to move him in the offseason, but we know that his contract is prohibitive. You saw what it took to unload Jason Dickinson. I don't think that the organization has the stomach to attach that kind of sweetener to Tanner Pearson to make that contract move on as well. So, really curious. And then it goes deeper than that, because Connor Garland last night started on the 3rd line. Like a week ago, he was with Miller and Horvat. Last night he's on the 3rd line. By the middle of the game, he's down to the 4th line. He had 1 shot on goal. He's gone 15 games without a goal. And the last one was into an empty net in Seattle. He went the entire month of November without putting a puck in the net at $5 million per. 17 games since he beat a goaltender. His last goal against an NHL goalie was the Canucks home opener, that forgettable one against the Buffalo Sabres. So it's just been a disastrous run here for Connor Garland. And this is a guy that had a 20-game run without a goal late last season as well. Like, if you're a goal scorer, you can't go that dry for that long. And you just wonder, he's already been a healthy scratch once. So, where do things stand with the coach there? So, it's funny. They've got so many guys that have exploded offensively. But in some ways, that's kind of masked the struggles of Garland and Besser and Podkolzin and Pearson and some of these other guys that if other players weren't picking up the slack, I think those would be bigger stories. Again, offense hasn't really been the issue for the Vancouver Canucks, but as guys get healthy, there's no question there are going to be decisions to be made, not just about the lineup, but the roster as well. And so really curious to see where all of that goes over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, you're right. That has been swept under the rug, the Garland situation. 15 games without a goal. Jeff, thanks for this. Appreciate it.
All
Be
right,
careful.
guys.
Be careful in the snow. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks. All right.
Jeff Paterson from Zakaris and Price and the Rink Wide podcast.